Hello and welcome to a new week of meals. I'm starting off with Quiche Two Ways. I'm using pre-made store-bought pie crust, just setting it off to the side there to sort of defrost, come to room temperature so it can be nice and pliable. My first quiche, I'm just doing eggs. I've got about 6 eggs in there, salt, pepper. We've got some heavy whipping cream that I'm just gonna whip up here, and then this is going to be the base of the quiche. I'm adding a bit of Tapatio hot sauce just to kick it up a little bit. This is completely optional. If you like it spicier, feel free to add more. And then I'm going to go in with a few strips of bacon that I'm just going to rip up here and add to the egg base. As I mentioned, I'm pretty much winging this, but any recipes that I have will be linked down below. I may also link some similar recipes just to give you guys a bit of inspiration and a little bit of guidance. And then here we go. I am just unrolling the pie crust. I can see at the end here, the end is just still a little bit stiff, so I'm warming it up with my hands just to make it again a little bit more pliable. This is easy to kind of push together if I create a bit of a hole in there, but I'm going to go ahead and continue with the rest of the egg custard, and I'm adding some shredded Mexican style cheese here. You can add cheddar, you can add Colby, pepper jack will be really good. I'm adding some green onions, some garlic powder, and mixing that up. Now that the pie crust has had just a couple minutes to soften up even more, I'm going to push it into the pie dish here, just making sure that we've got no gaps between the pie crust and the container. I'm taking Gouda cheese that I've sliced up, and I'm just going to put this at the bottom to give it an added layer of flavor. Gouda is just a nice, really strong, stronger flavored cheese than what I had used previously in the custard mix. So here we go, we're pouring this in. I'm going to mix this around, make sure it's nice and flat, and then I'm going to fold over the edges of the pie crust. I'm not worried about perfection here. I'm just trying to get the pie crust over. It is not a beautiful pie, let's just say that, but it sure tasted good. I've got a bit of that leftover egg custard, and I'm also dipping my pastry brush into the quiche itself. I'm using that egg as an egg wash to give the pie crust some color, and that's going to go into the oven about 375, I believe, for until the egg is nice and set. Moving on to the crustless version. This is the second way that I'm doing my quiche. Essentially the same filling, so we're just going to mix that up, and then instead of putting the Gouda cheese at the bottom, I am going to put it at the top since I didn't want the cheese to stick too much to the pie pan. So here we go, filling inside, Gouda cheese up on top, and then that's going to go into the oven as well. And there you have it, Quiche Two Ways. The quiche kind of domes up a little bit in the oven, but it settles down and flattens. Here's the first one with the pie crust. Nice flaky crust, super tasty inside. And the crustless version here, you can see a little poof at the top. Again, that will flatten slightly, but we're not too concerned about that. It tasted really good. Just cutting in to show you guys what it looked like on the inside. Egg was nice and set. Crust was, again, nice and flaky. It was not soggy down at the bottom. And there you go, quiche two ways, with a crust and one without, served with a side of coleslaw mix, and we've got some sliced canned beets, salt, pepper, oil, and vinegar. Next up, we have Colin's request for the week. Yet again, we've got French onion chicken noodle casserole. If you've been here a while, you know I've made this several times on various videos. So I'm going to link it up above in the cards as well as down below in the description box. I'll also put the original recipe down below so you have that for reference. This is just the abridged version. If you want to make this even simpler, you can go ahead and use a rotisserie chicken. I've cooked mine earlier in the day, so this is going to be really easy to put together. Really good flavors. I definitely suggest that you give this one a try. This one is so easy. I really don't mind when Colin requests this dish because, again, it is just so easy to put together and it tastes really, really, really good. And here it is right out of the oven, nice and bubbly, cheese is melty. Such a good, delicious dish. Definitely give this one a try. Serve it with a side salad or anything of your choice. Really, really good. Next up, I am prepping some corn tortillas for some beef enchiladas. I am frying the corn tortillas in a little bit of canola oil here, about 10 seconds or so per side, just to get them nice and pliable and kind of coated with oil to make sure that they don't get too mushy. So I'm going to take the like a cooling rack that I have here, and I'm going to put the corn tortillas on there so they can kind of drain a little bit. Just going to stack those. Now, as I was preparing the corn tortillas, I was thinking to myself, I really don't want to roll each individual enchilada. How can I make this a little bit easier? This is what I'm thinking as I'm frying up these corn tortillas. I decided to go ahead and do this lasagna style. So I'm going to layer this as a lasagna. And you can see on the back burner there, I do have the beef that's pre-cooked with a little bit of taco seasoning. So that's just hanging out waiting. And I did about 12 tortillas. You'll see I did three layers of tortillas. You'll see as I assemble this here, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants trying to figure out how to assemble this, but I put 4 corn tortillas down per layer of tortilla, what would be like a lasagna noodle layer. So you see how I've cut this up here, and then I'm going to put the ground beef mixture on top of that. Mix that around a little bit, and then I decided I'm going to add a little bit of enchilada sauce with the meat just to make sure it's not too dry. You can see the beef is a little bit dry here, so I didn't want that to be the case. I also didn't want to put too much enchilada sauce because I don't like those tortillas to be mushy. So just kind of taking a little bit here and spreading it around as evenly as possible. I'm using up what I have left of the Mexican style shredded cheese, and then I'm going to also add some cheddar cheese at some point for a cheese layer on top of the beef. Here's that second layer of corn tortilla. And then for the next layer of beef, I decided to go ahead and add the enchilada sauce to the beef mixture itself so that I didn't have to worry about getting the enchilada sauce nice and even all over. So here you go. I'm just pouring a little bit, you can see off to the side. And then I'm going to mix that up, and then I'm going to put that last beef layer down. So on top of the last layer of corn tortillas, I am just putting some red enchilada sauce on top of that, making sure all of the surface is covered with a bit of the sauce so it doesn't get too crispy or hard. And then we are going to put a last layer of cheese on top of that. You can add as much cheese as you like, and then that's going to go into the oven. I remembered that I had some black olives in the refrigerator, so I sliced them up and put them on the top as well. And that's just going to go in basically to reheat all of the ingredients and melt the cheese about 350 for, well, until the top is nice and melty. And I'm just slicing in here so you can see what the inside looks like. It turned out really, really well. I know I did not make this recipe up. I'm not the first person to ever think of doing this, but I did think of just doing this on the fly as I was frying up the tortillas. So I will probably be able to find a recipe that's similar to link down below. And there you go. With a side of sour cream, I mashed up some avocado and just made kind of a guacamole. And then I'm serving with coleslaw and then just a bit of lime juice on that. Really, really simple and delicious dinner. Last treat for the week, we spontaneously decided to descend upon my mom and my sister and my aunt. So I actually brought everything over from the house that I was going to cook for dinner. This is chicken katsu with a macaroni salad. I have cooked up a bunch of macaroni here. I am just rinsing it and cooling it off, and then I am going to add some mayo and the rest of the ingredients. I will soon discover and realize that I probably should have used a much larger bowl, but we've got some mayo. We have a finely diced onion, about a quarter or so, a very large dollop of relish, sweet relish, and then we have some pepper and some salt. So I'm going to start mixing this up precariously and decided to switch over to a larger bowl. Thankfully, she had a larger bowl, so this is going to be a lot easier here, mixing it up in this pink plastic bowl. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sweetness with some canned pineapple tidbits. You can use chunks, you can use crushed pineapple. You don't even need to add pineapple. Nice, sweet. You can also add raisins, cheddar cheese. Yeah, anything you want in this macaroni salad. I've got a little bit more pepper after I tasted it. And this is going to sit in the fridge until we are ready to serve. And right before serving, I will add a little bit more mayo just to moisten it up a little bit, since it will absorb a bit of that moisture in the fridge. Moving on to the tonkatsu sauce, we've got some ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, then we're going to add soy sauce and rice wine vinegar. Those last two ingredients I'm using in place of shoyu and mirin, since I didn't have those and I didn't want to go buy them. So just going to do a taste test here. Just realized that it tasted a little too strong on the Worcestershire, so adding a bit more ketchup so that I can balance the flavors. You do this as you like. Recipe is down below. I omitted the sugar. I really didn't think it needed it, but again, you can use whatever you want to taste. And then I'm just showing you, my mom is doing some beef steak here. She's going to cook that up on an indoor grill, and then she's got some veggies here, some gailan moi that she's just going to boil, actually really simply on the stovetop, and serve that with oyster sauce. Moving on to dredging my chicken katsu cutlet here. So this is chicken breast. I've got a mix of very, very large chicken breasts along with a couple chicken thighs. So we are using an egg wash. And then we're going to go into some seasoned flour, again, recipe down below, and then into the egg again, and then finally into the panko breadcrumbs. The panko really worked so well on the outside and really adhered nicely to the chicken. So I will always use panko crust, I think. So I want to make sure we pat that crust into the chicken, and then we're going to set that aside to fry. And here's my mom's steak on that indoor mini grill. Isn't that just so cute? And then we've got the veg just boiling here on the stove top until nice and tender. I'm starting to fry up these pieces of chicken now. Unfortunately, I completely forgot to bring the canola oil from home, and I just kind of assumed that she would have some, but she didn't. So I'm actually using extra virgin olive oil. I don't really think this is supposed to be used for deep frying or any kind of shallow pan frying, but in any case, I used what I had. The chicken was really thick, the chicken breast in any case, and I just knew as the panko breadcrumbs were cooking, you can see they're golden brown, but I just knew the inside was still raw. So I am taking those thick chicken breasts and I'm going to finish them off in the oven. And then I'm going to go in with the chicken thighs now, which are a lot thinner. Those I actually I was able to finish cooking those on the stovetop. So those are ready to go. I'm just going to let them kind of rest for a little bit, distribute the juices, and make sure it's cool enough to slice. And this is the chicken thigh, so tender, steamy, just moist, and clear juices running throughout. Really good. Crispy crust on the outside. Such a good recipe. And here's everything plated together. That chicken with this tonkatsu on top of it, and then we've got the side of macaroni salad. If I had been thinking a little bit more clearly and prepped a little bit more, I would definitely have served a cabbage salad with this. Usually served with these kinds of dishes in Japanese cooking, as well as these like Hawaiian barbecue kind of things. But I didn't have that. Still really delicious. Colin, of course, served his plain with rice, although he did try the tonkatsu sauce on the side as a dipping, and he ate 2 of these guys. He said it was really good. He's like, oh, this is the good kind of chicken. I was like, thank you. And this is my mom's veggies with the oyster sauce, just really simply dressed with that, and her steak over here on the side. And then I'm going to show you the chicken breast in just a second. It turned out really well. It was nice and moist on the inside. I probably put it in the oven for an additional 20 minutes or so. They were really thick. But I hope you guys enjoyed the recipes and the video this week. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video. Take care until then.